there is a template for leadership. You know, it says you do boom, 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 these things, you become a successful leader. One of the classes I enjoyed the most when I was doing my business school education was a class on leadership. I had the opportunity to listen to a lot of great speakers, wonderful ideas, former CEOs. It was excellent. I really enjoyed it. It made you think a lot about what kind of leader you want to be and those kind of things. The last 7 years or so, I have worked for a big corporation in Chicago. I've had a variety of roles, different responsibilities, but the role I had, the last role that I had, was the most challenging role that I've ever had. Simply because it was the first time I had a role where the performance, I could not control everything that impacted the performance. So what I mean by that is I was responsible for marketing for a business unit. You can't control the market. The market has a mind of its own. Some months you have a good month, some months you don't have a good month. I had in that role, I had the opportunity to present the monthly results to the senior management. And when the months were good, it was a good feeling. You look good. Who doesn't want to look good making a speech, right? Oh, numbers are great. But unfortunately, there were a lot of months where the results weren't good for us last year. And those months, I wasn't really excited about making a speech. I was nervous. I was a little scared because you know that you're going to get a lot of questions from the senior management. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you think of this? So it was a little nerve-wracking. And that made me learn that in order to be a good leader, you need to be very comfortable delivering bad news to senior management and yet be confident, saying it, you're going to do this to fix this issue, this is why it happened, so on. The other thing I learned, just like the table topics, is you're going to be put in a lot of situations where you have to say something even though you may not have much to say. So for example, the last business unit I worked in, they had a tradition where during the monthly town halls, the general manager would invite people who had their birthdays that month and give them a little birthday gift. So my first month there was my birthday month, so I got invited up on stage. And he said, he gave me the gift and he said, why don't you say a few words? So this is all the employees of that business unit. And I said, okay, sure. And I said, well, thank you for the gift. It's great to be here. And I look forward to working with you all. And I said, okay. And he said, talk some more. I was like, I got this for my birthday. It's not like I did anything. I'm healthy. I made it another year. So I really didn't know what to say. And then I learned later on that he was kind of evaluating me. He's the kind of person that tries to put people on the spot and evaluate how they react to it. So he's an interesting character. He's a pretty young guy. Extremely successful. He runs a business that's about $100 million, 300 people reporting into him, and I often compare myself to him and ask myself, what is it that he is doing? What makes him successful? What can I learn from him? I've had a lot of interactions with him. There's nothing earth-shattering in the content of his speeches, or if you ask him questions, or the answers to his questions. Or rather his answers to the questions, there's nothing earth-shattering in the content. But what he does love to do, he loves talking. He loves to get up on stage, he loves to talk. He could do it like all day. I think that's like a very key attribute that has helped him to be successful. And I want to be a good leader. I want to understand how to be a better leader, so I want to be able to speak well too. Although I may not have aspirations to be a general manager like he is, because I want to be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur one day. So going back about the question I raised, is there a template for leadership? I've talked through my experience to see if I can find an answer to this. I don't know if there's a template for leadership. I think it depends on a variety of factors. The kind of environment you work in, the kind of people you work with, the kind of person you are. But I do know one thing for sure. I have seen leaders who are good speakers, but not so good with other things like managing people or having a vision and so on. But I've never seen a leader who's really good at other things, but a terrible speaker. So I think being a really good public speaker is very, very important to being a good leader, and that's what brings me to Toastmasters.